This moment between Mary and the messenger of God, formerly known as the Annunciation, has been a favorite of artists over the centuries. A moment in time between two beings, Mary and Gabriel. Her yes to God's proposal perfectly formed on her lips, captured for eternity in brilliant colors. I can't help wonder what it is about this story that throughout Christian history has so captured our imaginations. Is it the dazzling presence of an angel? Is it Mary's courage and grace? Is it the reminder, the reassurance that God does actually burst into human life, allowing us the chance to blurt out our hesitant or bold or reluctant yes to whatever wild plan God has hatched up next? In the vast majority of these depictions, Mary is seen as the perfect feminine ideal, dressed in yards and yards of fine fabric, her often golden hair like a crown around her head, her face serene. She looks a lot like a cool and composed woman, and not so much like a 12 or 13-year-old girl with very little experience of the world of men, who has just literally had the life scared out of her by a divine intruder. Mary is often shown sitting at a desk and reading, or with a spinning wheel, spinning. And the angel with her almost always looks grand and royal with huge white wings, or peacock feather brilliant green and blue wings. He often holds symbols of royalty, like a scepter or an olive branch, in case we missed who he is by the huge wings and the dazzling light around him. Often there's a dove high above the scene, a reminder that the Holy Spirit is present to the events unfolding below. But the focus is always on Mary. Even Gabriel, that feathered wonder, is usually kneeling at her feet. He and the whole of creation is waiting for an answer from this child woman, an answer on which the course of creation hangs. Except that Mary does not really get the chance to answer. Gabriel plops himself down in front of her and tells her what's going to happen. I suppose she could have run screaming out of the room, but short of that, Gabriel pretty much assumes that this is a done deal before a word is spoken. He doesn't say, "Hey, Mary, if your schedule's free for the next 9 months, how would you like to be the mother of God?" He just greets her and tells her that the Lord is with her. Luke reports that she is perplexed, which I am guessing is some serious gospel understatement. And Mary, despite being basically a child, or perhaps because she was basically a child, questions the angel. She wants to know how this can possibly be. Whose idea is this? How exactly is it going to happen? This makes no sense. How can it be that God has made a decision to surrender to becoming flesh and blood? And that God needs her help. She needs to surrender to make God's surrender concrete. How can this be would be just one of a barrage of questions I would have. What about Joseph? How is he going to take this? Will he head for the hills and leave me alone? What will my family think? Will my friends stick with me, or will, as the custom was, will I get stoned to death for an out-of-wedlock pregnancy? What about the pregnancy? Will everything be all right? Will labor hurt? Will someone be with me? You, Gabriel, and you, God, are pretty focused on this child who will be king of Israel. But what about me? What will happen to me? According to Luke, however, if Mary was thinking all of these questions, she didn't ask them. She seems to have accepted far quicker than I think most of us would, that when an angel shows up and announces how something is going to be, well, you go along with what the angel says. And I think that even though a divine pregnancy was inevitable, Mary still had a choice. She could still say yes or no to Gabriel's announcement. She could take hold of this promise, this uncertain life the angel is holding out to her, or she could fight like crazy to hold on to life as she knew it. Mary, as the Eastern Church calls her, Theotokos, or God-bearer, is the only person who has ever had to change her life in that exact way, to literally make room for God inside her body. She was the only one who had that particular decision to make. But in many ways, her story is our story too. We independent 21st century people love to talk about the choices we have to make, how each of us chooses our lives. Well, I don't know about you, but many times I have made choices, laid out perfect plans, and then life interrupts, and I find myself off on a different path, doing something I never imagined I could do, like standing here preaching, for example. Life's sudden surprises, unexpected pregnancies, an economy cratering, the death of a friend, surprises both wonderful and terrible get in the way of our settled, ordered plans, and we almost never have a clue that those wonderful or terrible things are about to happen. We don't get an angelic announcement. Many of these are things we cannot choose, we have no control over. And yet, like Mary, we do still have something of a choice that often boils down to a simple yes or no. Yes, I will live this life that is being held out to me, even though this is not what I planned. Or, no, I refuse to explore this unexpected turn of events. If your answer is no, I won't accept or explore this, all you have to do when an angel shows up is drop your eyes and look at the floor until the angel leaves the room and you are perfectly alone again. Then smooth down your golden hair, pick up your spindle, and get back to spinning. Pretend nothing happened. If your life changes despite your best efforts at pretending it hasn't, you still have some choices. You can be stoic, or you can refuse to accept it. You can pour a lot of energy into ignoring it, and perhaps for good measure insist that none of what is actually happening is actually happening. When that fails, you can become angry, spending all your life trying to get it back to the way it used to be and was supposed to be. And if that fails, you can fall back on being bitter, lamenting your fate, and constantly comparing yourself to those whose lives seem to have turned out better. The good news here is that an angel rebuffed will not show up to bother you with wild plans and uncomfortable choices again. You will be alone. Or you can say yes, be a little wild and crazy. You can drop that spindle, put down the book, and give the huge winged glowing creature all your attention and listen to what that messenger has to say. You can decide to take part in a story you did not write, did not choose, and that does not have any guarantees. You can decide without understanding even a little bit what is going on, but whatever it is, you want to be part of it. You can decide to smuggle God into the world in your own body. If you choose to smuggle God, there is nothing that says you can't be afraid or should not be afraid. I'm guessing it's a little weird not to be afraid. Saying yes to an angel giving birth to God is hair-raising business. If you aren't a little afraid, you should be. Saying yes just means you are not willing to keep your fear to let your fear keep you locked away in the spinning room. You are not going to let it stop you. So you say yes to the angel kneeling in front of you, and you become Mary's kin, another Theotokos, God-bearer for a broken world. Meister Eckhart, a medieval mystic, wrote, "We are all meant to be mothers of God. What good is it to me if this eternal birth of the divine Son takes place unceasingly, but does not take place within myself? And what good is it to me if Mary is full of grace, if I am not also full of grace? What good is it to me if for the Creator to give birth to a son, if I do not also give birth to him in my time and my culture? This then is the fullness of time, when the Son of God is begotten in us." Greetings, favored ones. The Lord is with you. Do not be afraid, for nothing is impossible with God. May it be so.